So, do you like the new setup? I did a little rearranging in here and wanted to try something new, get closer to the windows, so maybe get a little more natural light. So we'll see how it goes. We are 2 days away from cast on for the winter edition of Inday's Knitalong and Crochetalong, so we've got a lot to talk about. So let's get started. Come on. Welcome everyone to Gary Knits, Gary Rides, a Craftivism podcast at the corner of making things and doing good. My name is Gary. I am a knitter and a crocheter. I am also a cyclist with AIDS Lifecycle, which is an annual 545-mile, 7-day bike ride from San Francisco to Los Angeles, which raises money for the life-saving work of the Los Angeles LGBT Center and the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. This is my 5th year of doing the ride, and I have combined my love of riding and doing the fundraising for the AIDS Lifecycle and knitting into the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, as well as D-Stash for Good. You can find me on Instagram at GaryKnitsAndRides and D-Stash for Good, which is where the fiber auction happens. And you can find me at Ravelry at GaryKnitsAndRides. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my little podcast. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. I hope you will all like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and share with a friend. It really helps with all the YouTube things to do that, to get more viewers and boost the algorithm, all those things. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about today. What has been going the last 2 weeks? Well, it was Christmas, for one. Our Christmas got a little bit sidetracked. It was always going to be a bit strange. My dad, who lives nearby, was supposed to be having knee replacement surgery just a couple days before Christmas, so that was going to prevent him from coming to our house for Christmas dinner. So we were going to go over to the retirement community where they live to do that on Christmas Eve, and then I went over to spend a couple days with them ahead of the surgery to get him to the hospital and be there for a little bit of the recovery, and got him to the hospital at 5 a.m. on the day of the surgery, and they canceled. So we still kept our Christmas plans intact and went over to their place with my in-laws for Christmas Eve, but it was just kind of a little bit discombobulated in terms of what we had planned. But it was a nice holiday, very low key. We don't do a ton around the holidays, so it wasn't that big of a difference, except we didn't end up having to cook for Christmas Day, which is what usually happens. So that was nice. And as you can see, I mentioned that I rearranged some things in here. If you tuned in last time, you heard the tale of my mismeasuring for bookcases, which led me to have to order some new bookcases for this room where I do my filming, usually when the dogs are here anyway. And those came in and I got them assembled, and I'm really happy about the way they turned out. There's a mirror image of this bookcase on the other side of the sofa that's right here to my right. And so it's helped give us a little more space in this room, make it feel a little bigger than it is, and allow me to finally get some yarn on display. So that's pretty cool, and I'm really liking how it turned out. So we still got a little bit of work to do in here in terms of organizing, but it's nice to have the space a little more aligned. In terms of, that's about it that happened for over the past couple weeks. I've just been gearing up for the winter edition of the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. So those kick off on the 1st of January and run through the 28th of February. I'll be doing a live on the 1st, so Monday, so a couple days from now, just to sort of do a live on Instagram anyway, to just sort of, promote the kickoff and the cast on, and talk to people and see what they're working on for their Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. In terms of the projects for the Knitalong side of things, we have a shawl pattern from Maggie at Yarnaceous Fibers. She just posted a picture of it today or yesterday, and I'll post up here with some details. It's still going through the testing process, so the pattern is not going to release until the 1st, right on cast on day, and so the testers are still furiously working on it. But she posted a picture with some of the details of the stitches and the contrasting color, and they're absolutely stunning. I did an Instagram live, and I'll talk a little bit later about what my plans are for my reconstructed shawl. That's the name of the pattern. So that's on the knitting side. It is a fingering weight shawl, 2 skeins of a main color. She said it takes about 150 grams, so you won't use both of the skeins, but of a main color, which is grayish in her kit, which is available on her website, and then 6 20-gram minis to do the contrasting colors. You could also do a single color, a full skein or 120 grams of a contrasting color in a single color. But it's an absolutely beautiful pattern. Spoke to one of the test knitters who said it was a lot of fun to work on, so I'm really looking forward to get started on mine. Again, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm planning. Also on the knitting side, we have the sock Knitalong. So we have the Resolutions and Resolutions Light socks from Snowy Thistle Knits. And some kits available from Laura at Always Be Kind Yarn. It's a gorgeous cabled sock in 2 weights. So the Resolutions sock is a worsted weight version of the pattern, and then Resolutions Light is the fingering weight version of the pattern. I'll post the picture up here. Absolutely stunning stock. I'm going to do mine in worsted. I already know I'm going to do it in the caramel color, my yarn. I'm tracking it. It is on my way. It will be here before cast on day, and that's probably the project I'm going to cast on first. I'll probably do that and the crochet project first, and then get into the shawl from Maggie at Yarnaceous. So those are the socks. And then on the crochet side, we have the It's Better shawl from Austin's Crochet Podcast. Yarn kits were available and still are available from Louisiana Yarn Guys. It's a DK weight 3-color crochet intarsia shawl with some tassel details at the end. Again, I'll post a picture up. And that pattern is available on Ravelry right now, and the yarn kits, or the yarn is available from Louisiana Yarn Guys. They're not actually put up on kits on their website. You just have to pick the individual colors, but all of their yarn through the 31st is 20% off, so you can go and grab and make your own kit of whatever you like. The pattern was designed by Austin in 2 color palette. So there's kind of a spring color palette and an autumn color palette. I'm going to be doing the autumn one, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, but I'm going to go a little bit off book, I think. So those are the 3 projects that we're going to be working on for the next couple of months. Again, patterns for the socks and the crochet shawl are available right now on Ravelry. Portions of the proceeds from all the yarn sales and all the pattern sales go to help fundraise for my AIDS Lifecycle. The reconstructed shawl pattern from Maggie at Yarnaceous is going to be released on cast on day. So, and then it will be available on Ravelry as well. You get a coupon code if you buy the kit from Yarnaceous with her grayish and the muted rainbow colors that she's picked out for that shawl. You'll get a copy of a code for Ravelry for a copy of the pattern when it's released. So that's all happening. I'm really excited for all of these projects, and I think this could be a fun couple of months. We were on our Zoom, which we do weekly for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs every Tuesday evening. My Instagram post, it's pinned to the top of my Instagram feed if you need the information for our Zoom call. It's a really fun group, but we were all showing off our yarn picks yesterday when we got together on Zoom to talk about what we're going to be working on, and everyone's really excited. So that makes me really excited for the next couple of months. We will be doing 5 rounds of giveaways as we always do for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. The first giveaway is going to be the cast on giveaway. So cast on is on the 1st. So all of the pictures that get posted with the hashtags, which I'll throw up here. There are 3 of them, one for each of the categories. All the pictures that get posted on Instagram with those hashtags, or any pictures that you post in our Ravelry group, get counted as an entry. So every post counts as an entry. So the more posts, the more entries. And for the first round of giveaways, which will be that first week, I will draw the winners at 5 p.m. on the 8th. So there'll be a winner for each of the categories for in the shawl knit-along, the sock knit-along, and the crochet-along. Each of the winners will get a copy of this year's Two Sheep's yarn calendars. Thanks to Two Sheep for sending these, which if you haven't seen these are absolutely fabulous. I'll show them again. Each month has a pattern and an indie dyer that they are highlighting, and at the beginning of each month the pattern and this exclusive yarn will go on sale from the beginning of the month through the end of the year. The yarn will be available from the Two Sheep's website, and the patterns I think are all going to be available on Ravelry. So some really cool stuff there. So the winner will get a copy of the Two Sheep's calendar, as well as their choice of some yarn cozies or yarn cozy from Lila Styles. So thank you to Lila Styles for sending me some extras of these in my order that I got. So the winner will get one of these and one of the calendars as part of the cast on giveaway. So get your cast on started and get your pictures posted to get entered to that. And then there will be the next round of giveaways will be the halftime of the knit-along and the crochet-along. So that I think is it. I mentioned last time that I will be doing a D-Stash for Good auction. The submissions for that will open sometime in the middle of the month, probably around the 14th or so, and those will stay open for about 10 days to allow you time to clear out your stash, take some photos, get those over to me, and then I will plan to launch that auction on the 1st of February. And it'll also run for about 10 days. That seems like about the right amount of time to keep those open, so that everyone has a chance to shop and put their bids in. So it's a lot of fun. We've had some really great yarn. I have, as I'm going to talk about a little bit in terms of my New Year's intentions, I will have a fair amount of things to de-stash as well. So it should be a good auction with a lot of cool things to buy. So if you need to clear out some space, or if that's one of your New Year's resolutions / intentions, start gathering up those things so that you can get the pictures into me ahead of the submissions launch mid-February. And I'll talk about it again with all the details probably next in 2 weeks in the next episode, just ahead of that. So it's probably a good time to talk about some knitting. I'm going to go in reverse order because, as I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about my knit-along and crochet-along plans, and I could use a little help. I did an Instagram live and showed off some of this last week or so, but I thought I'd do it here. I've only got a couple days, so I need to make some decisions relatively quickly. So if you have opinions or comments, please put them in the comment section below, and Alll take a look at everything before I make my final decisions. I know kind of which ways I'm leaning, but I always like a little bit of feedback. First, I'm going to talk about the reconstructed shawl from Yarnaceous, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to take you back in time because I got my kit, or I got one kit that I was using as a giveaway, and I had to get that in the mail to the winner. And my kit that I'm going to be using the main color of has not arrived. And I've decided that I don't want to do the rainbow colors just because it matches something I've already worked on in the last year. And so I thought I'd kind of go off book and choose some different minis. So I want to go back a couple of days and talk about my color choices. So here we go. Welcome to the past. I am just about to head off to the post office because I want to get the winner of the reconstructed shawl kit, their kit, which I got in the mail. I want to get that out to them, and I'm not sure that my reconstructed kit is going to arrive in time for me to film. So I wanted to get this on film so we can talk about it, because I'm thinking about going off book for the reconstructed shawl. I love the colors that Maggie has picked out, but the rainbow minis are kind of similar to a project that I worked on last year. And so just for a little bit of variety in my shawl wardrobe, I'm thinking about mixing it up. I do want to use the grayish in the kit as the main color because it's absolutely gorgeous. So let me show you that first. If you were on my Instagram live last week, you saw this already. But here is the grayish. And I'm glad I have some natural light because in poor lighting, it really reads as pretty gray. But once you get it into some natural light, the little bits of the beige definitely come through more, and it gives more of that how it really looks, which is this sort of blend of beige and gray. So I definitely want to use these as my main color because gray is something that I wear a lot of. Just so you'll see them, here are the mini skeins. Really, really pretty, kind of a muted, dusty palette. Like I said, I love them. I'm going to probably put them into my mini skein collection for a future project, but I thought I would try something a little different. So I had two options, which I talked about on the Zoom with the Zoom group. They had some strong opinions. I talked about it on Instagram, and some people gave their opinions, but I thought I would do that here. If you have any comments or thoughts below, I'm going to have to make my decision here in the next day or so, so let me know sooner rather than later. But you know how much I love Treehouse Knits and how much I, in particular, have loved her Cocoa collection. So I have a set of the Cocoa Solids minis. And while I think that I would love to do something with the variegated minis, I think given the slip stitch nature of this pattern, that's just going to get muddled in the slip stitches in the color work part of the shawl. So I have these minis. I only need 6, and I think obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but to my mind, this pale blue, which is I think Old Soul, is not contrasty enough with the grayish to really be useful. So that leaves me with these 6, which is what I need. And so it definitely leans into the red-orange end of things. So there's the navy blue underworld, and the rest of them are sort of in that orange red-toned end of the spectrum. So that is one idea, is to use the Cocoa minis. Then I dug around in my mini skeins and came up with these that I thought all worked well together. A bunch of them are from a Zakami yarn bouquet that I got for Christmas last year, I believe, and I used the burnt orange color in the Tunisian crochet project I just finished from Steph made that. Sorry, not Steph. But anyway, so these are the colors that I came up with just randomly picking from my mini skeins. Some of that is that Zakami yarn. There's a seismic yarn in here, and who knows where the rest of these come from. So this grouping leans more into the blues, which I think would look great with the grayish. So here it is. I should have held that up with the Cocoa. Maybe I'll do that. Get the better end of these things. So this would be kind of this pairing, and I'd have to figure out how to alternate them. So maybe a blue, a non-blue, or blue-green, non-blue-green next to each other. But that was the second pairing. Let me show you the Cocoa ones with the grayish. So that is that grouping. So if you have opinions, please share them below as I try to make these color decisions for my new project, my next projects in the Knitalong and Crochetalong. I will return you to our regularly scheduled program where we can talk about some other choices I have to make. Thanks. And welcome back to the present, or it's actually a little bit of the past for you because this is going to be posted in a day or so. So that is what I've been thinking about in terms of the reconstructed shawl and my options there. So if you have an opinion on the Cocoa colors versus the more, what I would say, kind of more dusty muted colors, the sort of more on the blue-green side of things, let me know in the comments below. You'll have seen the picture I posted earlier of what the color work in the shawl looks like. So maybe that'll help help me. Anyway, on to the socks. As I already mentioned, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do that caramel color from Laura at Always Be Kind Yarn. The minute she posted that, I was like, that's the color. She had 4 and they were all gorgeous, but that caramel really jumped out at me. I'm going to do the worsted weight socks just to have some kind of warm, cozy socks around the house, although it's Southern California, so we never get super cold, but it does get down in the 40s occasionally in the nighttime, and it's nice to have some cozy socks in the morning when you get up. So I'm really excited about doing those. I've never done a worsted weight sock. I have not done many socks in my life, full stop. So this is going to be hopefully some good practice to work on socks, which is also something I'm going to talk about in a bit. So on to the It's Better shawl crochet pattern from Austin at Austin's Crochet Podcast. As I mentioned, Louisiana Yarn Guys and Austin worked together to put together 2 palettes, and I had bought the yarn for both of those and then gave away one of them, and the winner chose the spring palette. So what I have left for myself is the fall palette, and this is what, and I've shown this before, but I want to show it again. So these are the colors that they put together for the fall palette. So this is Paris in autumn. So it's a sort of gray purpley blue with lots of burnt orange specks and a little bit, can we see it there? Yep, some pale grassy green in there as well. And then they have the burnt orange, which goes perfectly with the Paris and Bloom specks, or the speckles in there. And then they picked this blue, which they call Lissa blue. It is this, and it's showing up a little bluer on the camera right now. Maybe when I pull it back. It's really a teal. It really has a lot more green in it than it's showing up on the screen right now. And while it's lovely, I was kind of thinking about trying to get some of that, pull out some of that green, that grassy green color, or go in just a slightly different direction and hold on to this this Lissa blue. Let me see if I get it in the sunlight. Does it? Yeah. The further away I get, the closer it is to the true color. When it gets up close, it's showing up more blue, but it really has a fair amount of green in it. So I wanted to play around and see what I could do to try to pull out some of that green or go in a slightly different direction. And these are I dug in the stash because I did not want to buy more yarn, and came up with some options, and I'm just going to go through them and show you what I've got. I'm just pulling them randomly. So this is from Blue Fiber Company, from Joshua at Blue Fiber Company. It is, the color is Fen. It is on his MCN base DK. It's also UV reactive. Not that I'm planning to go out to the club with this shawl on, but so this was one, and it's a tonal or semi-solid, slightly variegated green. Definitely has some of that grassier color in the light bits, but then goes into a darker, almost to a forest green in the darkest bits. So I think that was really pretty. Then I said I wanted to do green, but I pulled this out because I thought it might be another option just because it's super neutral. And this is from Chasing Rabbits Fiber Company, which I think is called like Barker Wool. And it's just, it's called Serenade. It's their BFL DK, but just a tan base. So just kind of taking it in a more neutral direction. And then from my friend Lauren at Treehouse Knits, this is Pixie Hollow on her Dogwood DK base. So it really takes that that grassy, kind of a brighter grassy green, a green colorway, and I think that really looks nice with those two other colors. And then the last one, which takes that green on the paler side, more on the yellow side, also has a little bit of orange in it, although that may not come through. This is from Pitchfork Fibers. This is his Sprout colorway. Yeah, you can see some of the sort of the orangey undertones in there, but definitely more on the yellow side, but does in some of the tonality have that grassy green. So those are the options I was playing around with. Again, I kind of have a direction I'm leaning in, but would love any feedback that people have. I think any of those colors I would wear. I would wear the shawl made out of that. So let me know. Let me know what you think. I'm going to try to, as I mentioned, the socks are probably going to get cast on first, but depending on how my day goes on New Year's Day, I may do a little bit of work on each of them just to get them all started, and then every couple weeks I'll be able to update you all on my progress on each of those projects. So those are the kind of in the wings projects, because I'm not going to start anything new probably for most of January, February, until at least one of those projects is completed. When I finished my It's Winter Somewhere cowl, which if you'll recall I was working on and finished up a couple episodes ago, got it sent off, and actually just got a photo from the recipient of it, who was very excited to receive it. It was a total surprise to her, and she loved the orange color. So anyway, when I finished that, and I finished something else that I had been working on. Can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But anyway, before the 21st, which was the solstice, which is when I was starting my Yarniacs podcast, self-indulgent Knitalong project, which self-indulgent Knitalong, started on the solstice, runs through the equinox, and I had a project I wanted to start for that I thought I could probably wrap up by New Year's Day, when all my Knitalongs start. But I had a couple of days in there where I didn't have a new project for two, 3 whole days, and just decided I wanted to quickly whip up work on something to get it done sort of over a couple of day period. So I do have that and another FO to show, but I don't think I'm going to start anything during January and February, except for these Knitalongs and Crochetalong projects until one of them is finished, and then maybe I'll pick up another new project, because I know how it is. You have to start them. You have to keep casting things on. As soon as you finish something, you need to have something new. So let's talk about those whips that I have going, and one of which will hopefully be done. Better be done by Monday for New Year's, and that is the Kentia hat. This is the one that I'm working on for the self-indulgent Knitalong. It is living in my very adorable Scrappy Angel bag. Angel, I love this bag. Wire top closure. Perfect little size for a hat project. Let me clear off some of these skeins of yarn. So this is the Kentia hat by Amba O'Brien. I am doing it in a gray. It is Cascades Heritage, which you can kind of see is a color shifting, or this is all one tone, but tone shifting yarn, slow change yarn in this gray color. I think it's just called gray, or number 225 or something like that. And then the contrast color that I'm using is actually Yarnaceous fiber. So this is Maggie in her Salta fingering base, and this one is called Frankensoar. So it's this great sort of like limey, dark lime, and then into sort of a dark pink and gray. And I thought and I love how the two look together. When I read the pattern, which is written for DK, but said, oh, you can hold 2 skeins of fingering, or you can hold a skein of fingering double. And I said, oh, that's what I'll do. I wanted to use these 2 yarns. This thing has been in my queue for a couple of years with the gray color, and then I had another red color that I was going to use, but I decided I wanted to use this Frankensoar because I've just been in love with that yarn for a while. What I didn't really think about was holding that variegated yarn double. Oftentimes is going to have the pink and the green together, the pink and the gray together. It's not going to be as crisp as if it were a DK weight of the variegated yarn. Also, these are not super high contrast colors, and I think the pattern would come out clearer with a high contrast color. So it's a mosaic knitting pattern, color work pattern. So here's the hat, and actually, you know what? When I pull it back from the camera, you can actually see what the pattern is doing a little bit. I think it would be definitely more obvious with a higher contrast color, and if the variegated was DK weight rather than sort of marling the two strands of fingering. That said, I like it. I love the sort of subtleness of it, that it's not sort of super contrasty. I think that would also could look good, but for me and for what I would be wearing, I think this works really, really well. I love these three colors together. I love the gray and that olive and the pink, or not olive, like dark lime or bright olive maybe, I don't know. But I like those colors together. There's this section here, which they call the mosaic section, which I'm not sure, because they call this upper section the slip stitch color pattern. I'm not really sure what the definitional difference is, because it's all slip stitches. But this one is just every other stitch is slipped in the pattern, and this one has more of a chart that you have to follow. But anyway, I am down to my last repeat it's an 8-round repeat for this slip stitch pattern. Then I have 8 rounds of decreases, and I will be done. Really, really fast knit, really fun. Once you get past what Amba calls the mosaic section, which is very easy once you get started to memorize, but each row is different. These 8-row repeat of the slip stitch pattern is super easy to memorize. You don't even need to follow the pattern, and yeah, it's worked up incredibly quickly. If I weren't working on a bunch of other things, I would have definitely had it finished up by now. So this is going to get a lot of wear. It's right up my alley in terms of colors. Very happy with the pattern. We'll definitely make it again, and I think I'll try it with a little higher contrast just to see how it turns out, and maybe do it in the DK. I think it could be really cool to do it in a high contrast with like a color shifting yarn, like a solid, where I'm using the gray, a more solid color, and then something like a spin cycle or one of those color shifting yarns as the background color. But it's a really fun pattern. So that's Kentia by Amba O'Brien. I've actually spent a lot of time. Again, I'm not going to show it, although you can see the corner of it right here. What I've been referring to as the monster marled garter stripe throw, which I'm now referring to as the comically large throw. I spread it all out on the sofa that sits right here to take a picture of it, which I'll post the picture up here, that I wanted to send to my friend who I'm making it for, and it's just gotten out of control in terms of how gigantic. I mean, it's going to be bigger than a king size bed, and it is of my own design, so I'm the only one to blame for this, because I just sort of a combination of kind of miscalculated based on a gauge swatch, and then when I started knitting it, made the stripes, the first couple of stripes, wider than I had originally planned. Once I had realized my mistake, it was too far for me to rip it back out, and so I just kept going. So it's just like sort of this multiplying effect on how much bigger it's gotten. And its worsted weight held double, so it is going to be super, super cozy, but it is massive. I'm going to have to find probably the knit picks box that all the yarn came in. I'm going to have to fold it up there, maybe in one of those vacuum bags, and to ship it off to him. So, but I made a lot of progress because I've been sitting in here watching podcasts this week. I've been obsessed with watching all of the podcasts or video on YouTube channels talking about mini skeins, even though I'm not really doing an advent this year. But a lot of people put out episodes about mini skein projects, and like Arena from Fiber Chats put out one that was like 50 projects you can do with their mini skeins, and I've just been obsessed with watching all of those just to document those ideas and get them into my Ravelry favorites for next year. Hopefully I will do an advent and can can utilize all those great ideas. So I made a lot of progress on that. I am down to probably the last 20%. So it goes, as you can see the red here, it goes red, orange, yellow, and the colors are marled in between the solid blocks. And so I'm on the yellow marled with the light green. So I have three colors, 3 color changes to go. So fingers crossed I can get this done by Martin Luther King Day. The other the other whip that I've been working on has been my Exploration Stations shawl, living in my beautiful sister bag with an AIDS Lifecycle pin from one of the other riders last year that he was selling as one of his fundraisers that I absolutely love. And this is my Exploration Station Stephen West shawl. I have made it to the final section. I had hoped to have the final section done to show you. Let me find the right side. This is the right side. However, so this is it. And I am in the section that he calls Chevron Shenanigans, which is this gray, which is the color that started out and is the in-between color where all the eyelets are. In between each section is in this dark gray that is called Pebble from Ba Yarns. And I was about halfway through the section, which is not very difficult at all. It's basically garter stitch with these double yarn over eyelets and then a double decrease to create the chevrons. And somehow my stitch count got off and the things weren't lining up. And so I tried to fix it by adding stitches, taking away stitches, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So I ended up ripping out that, I was like, I think on 4 of 9 repeats. So I just ripped it all back out to this garter stripe section and started it up again. And now I'm back on track. And hopefully over the next couple of days, we'll make some more progress on that. And then it's just a 400 and something stitch I-cord bind off. But I'm loving how this turned out. I don't have to have it finished until February when it needs to be delivered to its recipient. Also a surprise for him. So if it doesn't happen on time, it's not going to be a problem because he doesn't even know it's coming. But I'm hoping to get that finished sometime in the next couple weeks, hopefully before next episode, so I can just have that off the table when I get started on my Knitalongs and Crochetalong project. So those are all the whips. I have a couple of very small FOs. I mentioned that I had cast on itis once I had finished up the KAL and before I could start on that Kentia hat for the Yarniac Self-Indulgent Knitalong. And I've been wanting to make some fingerless mitts for myself, and so I cast on these, which are the pattern is called the Wreath Nebula Mitts by Evan Bale O'Keefe. Evan was the designer for last year's winter Knitalong. We did a mystery Knitalong of her trifecta shawl, and she had a book that was focused on using UV reactive yarn. This is not, I don't think, I haven't actually put it under a black light to tell, but one of the patterns in there was this Wreath Nebula fingerless mitt. I used, the gray is a Cascade 220, it is DK weight. The contrasting, or the contrast color is Birch Hollow Fibers, her Phyllis DK, and the colorway is called Wither. I had used these 2 colors in a brioche hat that I believe I gave it to my aunt last year, but had a fair amount of it left over. And originally cast these on. It's a really simple slip stitch pattern for the contrast color. They're knit flat and then seamed up here, and you just leave a hole for your thumbs. They're very cozy. I knit them directly off the pattern, and they were too small. So I have one of these off the needles that is smaller, and then I just went in and added, I think, two more repeats and recast them on to make them for my hand. And so my sister's going to get a matching pair in the smaller size. I just have to knit the second one in the smaller size. But I love them. They're going to be great for walking the dogs or knitting when the house gets too cold for me, because when it gets down in the 40s here, it gets too cold for me. But again, Wreath Nebula Mitts by Evan Bale O'Keefe. The pattern's available on Ravelry. I will link it and everything I have talked about today in the show notes. Then the other thing that I started and finished in one evening, we were watching this new movie called the Banshees of Inisherin, which is Colin Farrell, and I'm going to forget the other guy's name in it. Martin McDonagh. Really, really good. Dark, comedic but dark movie. And so I knit this, which is a nightcap. So for New Year's Eve, I am going to be playing bingo with the Fiber Hustle crew. I think they do like 3 or 4 bingo nights a year, and you put in your form, and I think they randomly pick people. But I got in for this round for New Year's Eve, and it is a pajama party. So I have a pair of pajamas. I'm sure destroy my hair that are prints. It has like unicorns and a garden on them. Anyway, they are this green color, and I remember that I had this skein of Cascade Bulky leftover from a crochet Afghan project that I did a couple years ago, and I had an extra skein of it that was in my charity knitting bin. I was going to make hats for Knit the Rainbow or someone out of it, and I thought I could make a quick little accessory for my pajama party outfit. And then I grabbed a bunch of scraps. Leanne Parenti was doing a scrappy tassel thing on Instagram this last week. Let me pull down the shade a little bit. Sorry, there we go. And so I picked a bunch of colors that are also in the pajama print to make my sort of sad little tassel out of. So that is going to be for my New Year's Eve pajama party bingo with the Fiber Hustles guys. The name of the hat is called the Pixie or Nightcap by Lady Lilliput Creations on Ravelry. I think she's also Randy Lee is her name. She's not on Instagram, or she used to be, but she's no longer on Instagram. It is a paid for pattern. It was like $4 in chunky weight yarn. So this eventually I kept all my ends loose. I'm just going to tuck them back in there because once the pajama party is over, it does not get cold enough here to be wearing a bulky weight nightcap at night. I'm going to rip that out and then go ahead and knit it back up as a beanie for Knit the Rainbow or Warm the Line or one of these other hat charity hat collection groups. So that's it for FOs, but it does sort of bring up one of the things I wanted to talk about this week, which was New Year's resolutions. And I'm not sure I really love the resolution name. It feels too sort of like strong and kind of written in stone. And I think probably intentions are kind of more my speed. I feel like after the last 3 years where we never know what's around the corner, not that you ever did, but especially after these last 3 years, I feel like being a little gentler about heading into the new year and plans is probably helpful. Sorry, I'm going to throw these over there before they slide off and knock over my camera. So I think knitting intentions, or not just knitting intentions, but intentions in general, is probably the way that I'm trying to think about it. So I put together a quick little list of kind of the things that I am hoping to accomplish in terms of not just knitting, but mostly knitting and fiber related stuff. So the first one, which I'm hoping to actually combine two, and it's probably going to happen starting sometime in spring, maybe as part of the spring and AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, which are open. So they're choose your own adventure or spring cleaning or finish up your whips or clean up your queue, whatever. But it's whatever you want to work on. There's no designers coming out with patterns and kits. So it's just a time to kind of catch our breaths. And so how that ties into my intention is I really, really want to make myself my first sweater. I've never knit myself a sweater. I've knit baby sweaters before, and I knit my husband a sweater last year, I guess. No, 2 years ago. But I've never made one for myself. And I've bought a couple of sweater quantities of yarn in the past year, some of which I think I've talked about here. But I want to do that for myself. I'm hoping to go to Rhinebeck next year, so I'm kind of thinking this could be a Rhinebeck sweater, which makes me think it should be a stranded colorwork sweater. So stranded colorwork is also something that I've done a little bit of it in the past, but it's been a while, and it's something I would definitely like to get more comfortable with doing. And so I have this idea for a stranded colorwork yoke sweater for myself that will then become my Rhinebeck sweater. So I'm still toying around with patterns, but that's one of my intentions this year is to just hunker down and get over my fear of knitting myself a sweater and just do it. What I'll probably do, and someone, I can't remember who it was, I think Valerie Voigt in our Zoom group suggested doing a smaller colorwork project ahead of doing the full sweater. And one of the patterns that I've been looking at is a Tin Can Knits pattern. I think it's called Embers, and it's a pretty simple. It's not super crazy motif in terms of the colorwork, but they also do a hat. And so I'm thinking that maybe I'll do the hat first. Just see how it goes, get practice holding the yarn in both hands, which I think is how I would like to do it, and then tackle the sweater there. So that may be once I finish up with these Knitalong and Crochetalong projects in January, February, that hat may get thrown in there as a quick, or hopefully quick, project leading into the spring Knitalong. So stranded colorwork, knit myself a sweater, combine those two things. That's one of my intentions. The other one, and this is kind of tied into the sock Knitalong for the resolutions sock, which is going to be worsted weight, which I think will give me a sense of accomplishment, is to become a sock knitter. I'm always envious of these people who always have a sock going because it's super portable. They can carry it with them. They have sort of memorized a formula where they can always, they have this sort of sock pattern that they know they can knit for themselves, and it's memorized, and it's just something they can always be working on wherever they are. I've never gone through that exercise of finding out how many stitches I need and what my favorite heel is and all that stuff. And so I kind of wanted to go through that process this year to sort of establish a basic pattern for myself for a sock that can always be knitting. Now, obviously, the cabled worsted weight sock is not going to be that, but I'm hoping that just the process of knitting a sock, completing a pair, and sort of getting that motion happening is going to propel me into then taking the next step. And actually, last night we were sitting in the living room, and I checked out the library. Kate Atherley's book called Custom Fit Socks for Everyone, or something like that, where she goes through a whole very, very detailed, taking all your measurements, looking at toe up versus toe down, and tweaking patterns. But I went ahead and did all the measurements that she had. So I'm trying to get myself into the mindset of doing that. So I'd like to start working on just a vanilla stock pattern as well, and then become more of a sock knitter, so I can always have sort of a pair going, and then start to explore the different kind of heels and things like that. So if anyone has any suggestions on how to where to start, happy to look into those. But I think I'm on the path. So that's one. Another one is to end the year with less yarn than I started. Now, importantly, I did not say no, don't buy any yarn, because I know that is something that's not going to happen. For one thing, I have all of the dyers that are involved in the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, and they have been incredibly supportive of me, and I like to be supportive of them. So I will be buying those kits. Now, I may not always knit or crochet with those particular kits. I may use those as giveaways, and then try to dig into the stash to keep the yarn flowing out of the stash over the course of the year. But my goal is to, between the destash sales and knitting from stash to try to end the year with less yarn in the stash than what I started with. I think I can do that. Like I said, I know I'm going to be going to at least one yarn festival, either Rhinebeck or Maryland or both, and there are going to be purchases, and there are going to be, yarn that I see that I feel like I have to have, but I'm going to try to be really diligent about, for each one that comes in, to try to find something in the stash that I may no longer be in love with that I can get rid of in the destash sale, and all this also helping help my fundraising for AIDS Lifecycle. So less yarn than I started with. That's the intention. The other one is to knit 10 charity hats. I put together, when I was going through as part of this kind of reorganizing this room and sort of organizing the yarn that sits in the closet over there, was I went through and pulled out a bunch of yarn, mainly worsted and bulky, which is too heavy for me for everyday stuff around here, that I thought I could use for hats for Knit the Rainbow or for Warm the Line or whoever. Maybe Noodly Knits does her hat drive every year. So I pulled out a bunch of those skeins and started a charity bin in terms of yarn that I could use to knit up hats. Luckily, most of it's, as I mentioned, worsted or heavier, so they should be pretty quick. So I think getting 10 in between projects, when I'm working on shawls and bigger things like that, to have something that is portable that I can take with me in the car or on an airplane or wherever I'm working on those. I think that getting 10 of those done in the midst of everything else that I want to get done is probably a pretty doable thing. So that's the intention. I have 3 blankets. The comically large blanket that I'm working on now, I have a graduation blanket for a friend of ours who's graduating from high school this year, and so she and I have put together a plan for a blanket that she wants, and she picked out the colors and the design, and so I'm going to knit it. And then I have a much delayed housewarming gift, another friend of mine who has picked out yarn and a pattern, so that's 2 and a little bit more on this one, blankets that I need to get done this year. There's no, except for the graduation one, the other one, it could be delayed and she's not going to be upset. But I would just like to have that out of my queue. They're big projects, and so they sort of loom large when you kind of have them there. I think it's going to be, both of them are going to be really fun. One's modular, one is probably going to be the most complex cabling project that I've ever done, so I'm really kind of looking forward to both of them, but because they are large projects, there is a bit of a looming that happens, so I would like to try to get those done. And then I'm going to crochet my first garment. This is more than an intention because I actually have to get this done. It is a little bit of a spoiler alert here. It is for one of the upcoming Knitalongs and Crochetalongs, and I am being a tester for it. So I have to get it done, and I'm excited and scared because I'm not as strong a crocheter as I am a knitter. I've never crocheted a garment or anything that really needs to fit, so I think it'll be a fun challenge, and I'm looking forward to the project because I think it's going to really test me in terms of my crochet skills. And then the last one that's sort of knitting related is to have Season 3 of the End AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs all wrapped up and planned and sort of in place before I go on my AIDS Lifecycle ride the first week of June of this year. I had most of it done last year, and then things kind of carried over into the summer. Then all of a sudden there was kind of this rush at the end that did not feel great for me. And so what I would like to do is at least have the dyers and the designers sort of teed up, maybe not have exactly the patterns that folks are going to be working on, but at least have an idea of like kind of we'll be doing a shawl, we'll be doing a sock, or we'll be doing something else, and have those kind of teed up and ready to go heading into the summer, so that if heaven forbids something happens, someone can't commit commits to a project but then can't fulfill it, or something comes up in anyone's life, that I have some room to find an alternative, because we've had that happen before, and again, that last minute panic thing like that, which I'm usually pretty good with, but it doesn't always feel great. So I'd like to have that resolved heading into to my bike ride in June. So this is the kind of the knitting ones. Some other ones just, outside of knitting and crafting. One is book related. So as you can see, I have all of these really pretty books here on these shelves. These are the Penguin cloth bound classics. With the covers are designed by a British artist named Coralie Bickford Smith. And every year they come out with 4 or 5 new ones. I've been collecting them for probably over a decade now. I don't know how many of them there are, but there are quite a few. Many of them I've read, not these particular editions, but I've read in my life. But I would like to read some more of those and just read more in general. So my goal is to either listen to or read 10 books this year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but listening, I tend to be able to, when I'm doing long training rides outside of traffic. So there's a way I can ride my bike for over 100 miles locally here without any traffic. It's along the LA River. And when I'm doing that, I actually usually will put in an audiobook. And when you're on a 5, 6, 7 hour bike ride, that's a great way to pass the time, since you're not having to pay attention to traffic. You can just kind of zone in. So probably some of those will be audiobooks, but I'd like to do at least 3 of the 10 from this group. So these tend to be more sort of what you think of as sort of the classics of literature. So there's some Jane Austen, and this is the Iliad, and this is Love and Friendship by Jane Austen. So I'd like to have 3 of the 10 out of this. Pick 3 that I haven't read so far in my life, and do those. And then the big sort of non-knitting intention is to surpass my goal for fundraising for this year's AIDS Lifecycle. So I have a long-term goal of raising $200,000 for the charities. I am over halfway there. I should say that this year I'm already at $15,000, which is astounding to me this early in the season. That's thanks to you all for participating in the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs and the D-Stash auction primarily, because my big fundraising letter just went out, and those are starting to come in. So I'm trying to raise $33,000 this year. Hopefully I'll be able to exceed that, and that would be a phenomenal thing for me. So that's my other sort of big non-knitting related intention for the year. Should we talk about yarn a little bit? I don't have a lot to show in terms of acquisitions. I'm trying to get a good start on my intention, but some things that were orders from a while back have come in. I guess this one's right here, so why don't I talk about this? Brooke from I Am Fully Spun sometime early last year, started a what's not a GoFundMe. Oh my gosh. Just where you have a project and you're trying to fund it, and I can't think of the name now, to put together a collection of marled yarn. So color changing, spin cycle-ish kind of long color changing yarns. And so that's a bit of a process. And so she was doing a fundraiser where you sponsored her a certain level, and then you got certain things as she went through the process. Now, in the meantime, Brooke has gotten her dream job, full-time job, and has sort of taken a bit of a side step back from the dyeing thing. So this is kind of one of her last big projects that she's going to be working on for a while she sort of works on her her career. But the marled yarns were finally came through, and so she got those sent out to everyone. So I got my set, and so they came in 50 gram skeins, and these are all fingering weight. And so I'm thinking, as part of my sock thing, maybe one of these sets will be a cute pair of socks once I figure out my formula. So they're all marled yarns. So this is Orion, really pretty blues and purples. And there's a little thing. There was also pins and things that were part of the fundraiser. And I can't for the life of me remember what that's called. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that is so sad that I'm having a brain freeze. This one, which I love, and this sun keeps coming. We have to learn new things. This is called POC Inclusive Pride. So one of the things, if you go to her website, and she's selling off all of the yarn that she currently has in stock, she always did both fiber bundle, bats and spinning fiber of all of the different pride flags. So there's like the lesbian pride flag, the bi pride flag, and then she was trying to do the same thing in the marled yarns, and this is the POC Inclusive Pride colorway. So these might be really fun socks, super colorful. And then the last set that I got was called Kente, and also super colorful. So I am excited that she has found her dream job. I am sad that she's taking a little bit of a break, or maybe a permanent break from the dyeing thing. I do know that she has a couple of projects in the spring that are going to kind of wrap things up for her for the time being. So stay tuned, because you may hear about one of them here. But those are really really fun, and that's the only real acquisition for myself. Now I did have some heart mail, which is donations that have come in for giveaways for the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs that I wanted to show. First, from Samantha at a Whimsical Wood yarn company, sent me a massive 9 skeins of her Glitter Bliss sock yarn. So it is 95% superwash merino. I'm not going to pull it out of the bag. And then 5% stellina. So all of these have sparkles in them. And they are just fantastic. I got them and I was like, oh my gosh, this would make such a fun like shawl or something. But I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do. But I will probably give these out over the course of several giveaways, and just like have people select their colors. Maybe since it is sock yarn, maybe as part of a sock, maybe as part of the sock KAL. But thank you, Samantha. This is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't seen her yarn, she does some really, really great, like assigned pooling yarns with rainbows and like bursts of colors in various backgrounds. It's pretty amazing. Then I got from Dr. Joyce, who is a participant in the Knitalong and the Crochetalong, and just a lovely human being, sent me this really cute Madeline Tosh rainbow tote bag. I don't know if it was part of a kit or something, but she said I could keep it or I could use it as a giveaway prize, and I am overflowing in bags, so I'm going to use it as a giveaway prize. I think given the theme, it would make a great one for the Pride Knitalong. And then finally, I won in a giveaway from Ginger Snap That. They were doing 12 days of giveaways during the holidays, and I won this little project bag that has little cocktails, tropical cocktails, and I'm going to pay it forward and give this away in one of the giveaways. So all those will be coming down the pike in this season of the AIDS Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. So look for those and your chance to enter by posting your pictures of your projects. So that's all of the new stuff in terms of acquisitions and or heart mail. Nothing from Booty Stash in terms of things that I bought for acquisitions, because I think we're pretty good. Or not for giveaways, because I think we're pretty good for the upcoming rounds of the Knitalongs and Crochetalongs. So the last thing I want to talk about, as I do every episode, are some ideas for Craftivism, some ways that we can combine our love of fiber arts and knitting and doing some good in the world. And these are just sort of things that have come across my Instagram feed mainly over the past couple weeks. And I should say this each week, but I always forget, is that if you have something that comes across your feed or something that you know about that sort of ties in fundraising or anything really and fiber arts that you would like to pass on to me, that you would like for me to share with all of you, please either leave it in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram, send me an email. It's GaryKnitsAndRides@gmail.com, because I'd love to pass on that information if there's someone out there that's doing a great thing in the fiber community or for the fiber community. I'd love to share that. I mean, that's really kind of the whole point of what I'm doing here, and how I got started in doing this is sort of combining my love of fundraising for AIDS Lifecycle, which eventually at some point is going to end because I will retire once I hit my $200,000, and then I'm going to turn and try to use this platform, whatever it is, to do other projects. So the things that came across my feed over the last couple weeks that I wanted to share. One is a new initiative from Knit the Rainbow. So you have heard me talk about Knit the Rainbow in the past. You will continue to hear me talk about Knit the Rainbow, who collects and distributes cold weather items, so hats and gloves and scarves and socks for LGBTQ youth who are experiencing homelessness. Right now they are serving young people in New York and in Chicago. They're hoping to expand their reach across the country. So they've been doing some fundraising. They had their big gala earlier this year. But they have a challenge going right now. It's a 10-week challenge. Started a couple weeks ago, runs through the 23rd of February to specifically gather mittens and socks. So I think that socks are their number one requested, which is not surprising. It's, I think, for most organizations that are serving underhoused people, socks and underwear are typically the number one item that they get requested from their clients. So socks are a high demand item for them, and I guess mittens are as well. So they're running a little contest for whoever donates the most mittens and the most socks. So they're kind of two contests running simultaneously between now and February 23rd. There's going to be some sort of prize for the donor. So if you're a sock knitter or a mitten knitter, and you just like knitting those things and would like to do something great for some people who really could use some warm items this cold winter, I'd love for you to send them to Knit the Rainbow. Again, links to everything are going to be down below. So that runs through the 23rd of February. The second one is Shop. I'm going to have to look into Shop La Mercerie, which Shop La Mercerie is a local yarn store in Washington State. I think it's Bainbridge, but I'm not going to be 100% on that. And I just saw that they are running a raffle. They, I guess, have a sock club, like a monthly sock club, where each month they curate a skein of yarn or a sock set, and then the subscribers to the club get that in the mail, I assume. But they've collected all 12 months of their sock club for this past year, and they're going to give away 12 sock sets or 12 sock kits to the winner of this raffle. Tickets are $5 a piece. It only runs until the 31st. So if this goes up on Friday, that is, you have a couple of days to do that. And 100% of the proceeds of the raffle are being donated to the Trevor Project, which, if you're unfamiliar, is an organization that serves LGBTQ plus youth, particularly around suicide prevention and mental health. So it's a great chance to win, 12 sets of fingering weight yarn. Plus, I think there's some that have minis with them. If you're a sock knitter, what a great treasure trove of sock yarn to get, and to help out the Trevor Project along the way. So a link down below. You only have a couple of days to get that done. So that's the sock raffle at Shop La Mercerie to help the Trevor Project. Madeline Tosh is in for the month of January, so through the 31st, is donating 10% of all of the sales of their Hedgehog Fiber by Madeline Tosh, Hedgehog Fiber Tweedy by Madeline Tosh, which is a Tweedy yarn that I think uses in bits from Hedgehog Fiber yarn as the tweed nips. So 10% of that sales of that product are going to be donated to Knitters Against Malaria, which is an organization I did not know anything about, but it was started by the designer Melanie Berg and Rosie Green Wool, who I think is a dyer. And they raise money each year, I guess in January is sort of a big fundraising year for them, to then donate all the funds from the fundraisers to provide materials to help prevent the transmission of malaria, which kills something like 500,000 people a year in Africa. So that is fantastic. And so that is Madeline Tosh, the Hedgehog Fiber Tweety by Madeline Tosh. 10% of the sales proceeds for the month of January going to Knitters Against Malaria. So that is fantastic. And the last one is a way to help someone in the fiber community. So Sultan Al-Rashid, who is a dyer, and I'll put a link directly to the GoFundMe, has had some medical issues over the last couple months. He also had to go through a move and relocated and had a bunch of unexpected costs and could really use our help. And so he started, and it's one of those things that you know it's hard for folks to ask for help. And he posted as much in the post where he said, I need help, and posted a GoFundMe where he's trying to raise funds to help cover his medical expenses. So I'll put a link down below. I think he's trying to get back going on his dyeing business and have that kick in as well. But to sort of bridge that gap during this period where he's been unable to work because of a hospitalization, he has put up a GoFundMe for that. So I'll put the link down below, and if you can spare some money into the new year for someone here in the fiber community that could use a hand, that would be fantastic. So that is all I have on the Craftivism front for this episode. I thank you for spending some time with me as we head into the new year. I hope you had a fantastic holiday season celebrating Christmas or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate, if you celebrate. If not, I hope you just had a couple weeks where things quieted down a little bit and you could do some reflecting on the year that has passed and look forward to 2023. I hope we all have a more relaxed and chill and less anxiety-provoking 2023. I hope you're staying warm and cozy wherever you are, and doing a lot of fun crafting. Until 2 weeks from now, take care, and I'll see you then. Bye.